Welcome everybody. It's 6:01 p.m. Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. My name is Nick Kremp. I'm the conservation agent here in the city. Before we get started, I just want to ask everyone to silence any devices you might have so we don't have any interruptions during the hearings. And I will go ahead and start off with a roll call of the commissioners present. So our newest one, Bob Seacard. Present. Stephanie Quinlan.
Present.
Mike Seekey.
Here.
Ken Ridlin.
Present.
Rich Gullick.
Present.
And Chuck Raymond.
Here.
And absent is Jim Chambers. But with that, we have a quorum of 6 out of the 7 members, so I'll go ahead and hand it off to Chuck Raymond.
All right, thank you, Nick. Just a quick statement for the commissioners. We've got kind of a fairly full agenda, one of the longest ones we've had in a while. So I want to make sure that we cover everything and everybody has a chance to ask questions, get the information you need. But if we could, as much as possible, move right along so we're not here too late, that'd be very much appreciated. Thank you. Going on to new hearings, one of our commissioners has to leave early tonight. So if nobody has any objections, we're hoping to move the item D, the gas line on West Street to the front. Anybody have any objections to that? All right, good. All right, with that.
All right, hello everyone. Should I come up to the front?
Please, introduce yourself.
My name is Carolyn Gorse with the SC Group. I'm here on behalf of the Boston Gas Company to present a notice of intent for the installation of a 6-inch gas main along West Street at the crossing of the Moose Brook. The existing gas main is exposed and located on the side of the bridge, I believe on the northern side of the bridge, and it has been identified as being in need of repair due to its age. And another factor which I just found out recently was that it is a cast iron pipe, which I guess National Grid is strategically going through and replacing the cast iron pipes because they are more prone to leaking. So will be replaced with a PPL plastic pipeline installed via horizontal directional drilling, which essentially there will be an entry pit and an exit pit on either side of the bridge. The pipeline will be drilled at a certain degree underneath the river, underneath the bridge, perpendicular underneath the footings of the bridge. At the site visit that I went on with Nick and Michael, I estimated that it would be installed about 10 feet below the footings of the bridge, but I stand corrected. I did double check the stamped designs that they gave us, and they said at a minimum of 5 feet below the bridge, at a necessary depth to not impact the footings of the bridge or impact the river itself. So again, it'll be about at least 5 feet. If they need to go deeper, they will, and if they can, they will.
Okay.
So this project is within the bordering land subject to flooding, approximately 400 feet. So the subject of this NOI is the installation about 400 feet within the bordering land subject to flooding and technically land underwater beneath the river bed. And at this point, we have proposed some best management practices. National Grid has typical practices of installing erosion controls around the work so that no sediment from the trenches or the excavation process will enter into any natural resource areas. So we're proposing anything from silt fences to sediment socks or compost socks. If the commission has any BMPs that they would like to recommend, we can certainly take that into consideration. Any dewatering activities, if they are needed, will be done outside of resource areas. Water is filtered through a sediment bag. And in our notice of intent at the very end, we did include best management practice examples and typical practices. So at this point, I would like to answer any questions that you do have. I took some notes from the site visit on questions that were brought up then. We can go through that, or we can.
Mr. Chair, can I have the floor?
Sure.
I have a number of questions.
Absolutely.
Question number one, notwithstanding the fact that the existing line is is defunct. It was put in 1994, it's cast iron.
I need to double check the dates, but
Yeah, it was right around 1994.
yeah.
It's, trust me, it's right in that area. And I don't understand why Boston Gas would choose to go under the brook instead of replacing the existing line with the same plastic piping and leaving it running alongside the bridge. It would be a lot safer, a lot more efficient, cheaper for you guys, less aggravation to the city, the environment.
I believe it is part of National Grid's plan to decrease the number of exposed pipelines. I think they do see that as a safety hazard, for people to be able to see the gas line exposed, and that this way it keeps it within the footprint of the roadway for maintenance to happen in the future. It is becoming quite common practice for them to put things under the road, so.
This has worked for
Yeah.
30 years, I don't know, but anyway, on the composition of drilling mud,
Yes.
if you read me on NOI, the NOI would like to be presented that the mud is nothing to worry about, non-toxic. It consists of bentonite.
Yes.
Is it calcium or sodium?
I will have to get that answer and bring it back to you, I'm not sure.
It is listed as a class 2 material under OSHA HAZCOM. It is 200 under the HMWS system. It is not an innocuous material.
Mhm.
And then in addition to that, the notice of intent says that also they've added in non-toxic polymer materials. That statement in itself is an oxymoron. I would like to know what the polymer material is,
Mhm.
and are there any surfactants added to that mix?
Okay. Those are questions that I am not an expert in, so I will have to go back to National Grid and see if I can get more details on the composition of those surfactants and why exactly they deem them safe to use. Is,
I'm not saying they're not safe to use, but if you read the NOI presents it like this material is nothing to worry about.
Are you referring to the inadvertent release plan that we included?
That's the next thing I'm going.
Alright,
I mean, if there is a release of this material, it is not innocuous.
No.
There is, there's some danger in having that material released to the environment. Not only to the waterway, the wetland, but also to any people working on the job. It also has a health hazard. There's a health hazard of 2 under the WMIS classification system. So, in my opinion, I mean, not knowing that much about the HDD system, but by looking at the presentation of the mud itself, that's not an innocuous material. And if there is an IR, I read the contingency plan, and hopefully it works. Is there going to be an EI on site from start to finish?
Typically, we don't provide that, I haven't provided that service to National Grid for these kind of HDD projects, but,
Ken, can you just define EI for everybody?
Environmental inspector.
Inspector.
He's the person who would actually oversee or implement the contingency plan in the case that there's a release of this material.
Ken, can I comment on the bentonite?
Sure.
My experience with it, it's not a very hazardous chemical. It's actually a natural clay that comes from Wyoming. I assume they're using a sodium bentonite, which is a montmorillonite type of clay. I did my dissertation on bentonite barriers, soil bentonite barriers. It's used in kitty litter. It's what makes the water clump. So it's pretty common. You don't want to breathe it necessarily, but you want to breathe any dirt. I don't think that's an issue.
It's not an innocuous material as it's being presented in the NOI. That's all I'm saying.
It's not a clay that concerns me.
I mean, I would like to see MSDSs for the materials that compose the mud mix. And for clarification, the MSDS is a material safety data sheet.
Thank you.
It's required under the Hazard Communication Act. I think it's 1910-40.
The Superfund amendments, right?
Yes.
I can try to get those documents for you, certainly.
And I'm also interested in, again, getting back to the mud, what is viscosity, where does it start, where does it end up? Because, the bentonite is hydrophobic, which means it will swell, it will absorb the water, and that's one of the reasons why you use it, because it puts push behind the drill. So, those are some of the issues that I have.
Okay.
Did you say there was another section of the submittal that you had questions for, or are you all set?
I think
I thought you said there was something else.
The contingency plan?
well, the contingency plan, if you're gonna have a contingency plan, you're not gonna have an environmental inspector there from start to finish. And he has to be there from start to finish, from the time the crews arrive until the crews pack up. Because contingency means something went wrong. And when it goes wrong, that guy shouldn't be down here at Dunkin's drinking coffee.
Yeah.
He should be on site.
Now, if National Grid is not planning to have specific details for environmental inspection, would you be open to having a condition in the order of conditions that, having a bare minimum of environmental inspection during the HDD drilling process and following it?
I think that's when he has to be there,
Yeah.
during that process.
Yeah. So we would be open to, following up with National Grid and making sure that they had some kind of environmental monitor during that process.
I mean, it's in Boston Gas's best interest to have an EI from start to finish, but that's not, that's
Yeah.
not within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, but it is from the time that they actually start the drilling until that drilling is completed.
And as I understand it, they have been doing a number of these HDD processes to replace gas lines throughout Massachusetts. I was describing to Nick and Michael that there was a project recently in Medford. We came in and described this process to them, and they had, I guess, many other HDD processes performed successfully in the past.
And from start to finish?
Yeah.
How long does the project take approximately?
For a larger project, like the one in Medford that was crossing the Mystic River, that's about they estimated 3 to 5 weeks. For this project, because it's much smaller, I would estimate around 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And someone brought up how long the outage would be for abutters, the gas transfer. And when I spoke to National Grid today, they said that when the new pipe gets gassed up, it's the old one is still active, so the outage is only about an hour.
So they're gonna start at 508 and get down to 592. 508 to 592, with the exception of the bridge, will all be in the roadway. They're gonna dig up
Yes.
the roadway.
This
Take up
is
that
all-
existing main.
All the work will be contained within the roadway.
Okay.
It's all within or below the road, like the area of the
Yes,
roadway?
within the so when the horizontal directional drilling process, now this is not specific to this project, but I brought some printouts of a profile of what the horizontal directional drilling looks like, and I can pass that around if it would be helpful.
And Caroline, do
Yeah.
you know what time of year that they're gonna do this?
I believe they're hoping to do it as soon as possible.
I would suggest that, in the middle of the summer, the levels of water in the brook sometimes almost go to nothing. So if there was a release, it would be much easier to contain it at that point in time.
I'm not sure what the timeline is for
I'm
this
just-
project
I'm just-
specifically, but
I'm just throwing that out there.
What's that?
Yep.
All right, thank you, Ken, appreciate the input very much. Nick, your opinion as the agent, the Rivers Act, I heard no mention of that here tonight, is that
I think
part of
that-
this discussion?
that-
And have they addressed it?
I think that only comes into play on navigable rivers.
No, it's subject to a very small 300-foot section up there, I believe, if I've read it correctly.
Okay. So it would not apply here.
Wait,
Wait, it applies to what?
to the very small section that they're actually working in.
Oh, okay.
Why is that, do you
I
know?
don't know why, unless I misread it, and that's possible.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Rivers Act and its relation to this project?
Section 10 of the Rivers and Harbors Act. Rivers and Harbors Act.
Right.
I don't believe we addressed that.
Okay.
when we did a permitting assessment process with this
Mhm.
project, it wasn't identified. But I cannot remember exactly the reasons why.
maybe someone.
Thank you, so somebody in the
You're
audience
talking
has,
about the River Protection Act,
Oh, river protection.
not the River and Harbor Act, that's a different set of regulations.
Okay.
So if your line is crossing under a perennial stream,
Mhm.
you have to take that into account as far as inner and outer riparian zones.
Okay.
Any exemptions you may have, you should check the state regs to see if there's any exemptions for right-of-ways. You may have an exemption for right-of-way in the river's bill.
Okay.
Which brook is this, Ken? Manusnak, so.
Coming out of Pierce Pond down on West Street.
The other, I mean, obviously you've done the Mystic River, so gas company's probably familiar with it. You might want to, I don't know if it's in your NOI because I haven't read it, but you know, I believe Manusnak Brook is also cold water fishery.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that you minimize impacts to that.
Can you restate the name of that act?
The River Protection Act,
River.
310 CMR 10.58.
Okay.
I can't believe I just said that out of memory.
you should be ashamed of yourself, man.
It just
Thank you,
goes to
Matt.
show that I have no life.
So, yeah, alright, there's only, the Rivers Act, that was the only question I had. Anybody else have any questions or
Yeah,
comments?
so, a quick one, I was wondering, so your groundwater extraction system is gonna be filtered, and then you're discharging it, are there gonna be limitations to the volume of discharge at your point of discharge? Is it gonna be like dispersed or all in one area?
Not that I'm aware of. I would have to go and double check the best management practices.
Well, I don't know what the recharge here is gonna be like, and I wanna make sure it's not, gouging.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that in the best management practices, I think that we would prevent, or we would not discharge in such a way that it would cause rills or erosion to the area we were discharging.
As you recall, we also had a horizontal drilling project come to us last fall, the railroad, out on, off of, Crawford Street. So that was, they had similar horizontal drilling, actually under the railroad tracks, and we,
Yeah.
I think that was one of your first hearings with us.
Yeah.
It was a much larger scale too.
Much larger.
Right. You're dealing with an active railroad, so, when that was, there was wetlands, it wasn't a river, there was wetlands right there.
Wetlands, yeah.
Anybody else have any?
Yeah.
Rich?
Other than safety, were there other advantages to putting it underground? As far as their overall plan?
I think there is some benefit to keeping everything within the roadway footprint itself rather than having, I think for maintenance, I would imagine that it is rather difficult to get down there, but I did ask what the maintenance lifetime is for something like this, and the engineer that I spoke to at National Grid said it was something like decades, that this wouldn't have to, hypothetically wouldn't need any maintenance for decades. I think having it in the roadway is just a consolidation of utilities.
They're trying to do that with pretty much everyone that they're having to replace now.
Yeah, they're going through a whole bridges program where they're identifying areas that they would like to put things back under the roadway.
Again, the existing line that runs along the side of the bridge has been there for 30 years.
Yeah.
With no problems. From the standpoint of safety or anything else. As a matter of fact, Boston Gas just put up those little blocks on each
Yes.
end of the pipe, which is, 30 years too late, but they did put them up. I mean, we used to walk across that when we were kids.
Yeah, I think they're probably trying to prevent that.
Yeah.
That's a very large safety hazard.
But I don't think you have that element in
That's
that
all,
neighborhood
we still
anymore.
walk over.
So,
Please don't do that anymore, Ken.
Yeah.
See you out there tomorrow walking across.
I think in general, their outlook is that the fewer exposed gas lines, the safer it is for general public interaction.
Is that a potential terrorism question or purely physical safety and accidents or?
Yeah,
That's
there's
a
like vehicle accidents.
That's a good question, yeah, because
Extreme weather.
if a vehicle had gone off the bridge in that location, they'd have to,
Straight up accidents?
yeah.
Not intentional.
correct. I'm not sure.
I imagine it's easier to intentionally damage as well when it's exposed like that.
Yes, it
If
is.
you really wanted to.
You also had mentioned at our site visit, the benefit of separating the bridge from the pipe
Yes, that
in
is well.
the event of, bridge work or pipe work, and that how they won't affect one another if the pipe is laid underground.
And that is something we've had to deal with in other projects, where if the bridge needs to get replaced and the gas line is attached to the outside of the bridge, they have to create a temporary bridge somewhere else down the river, or, figure out a different temporary solution that's usually much more impactful than, if it's already under the road, it won't be impacted by the bridge replacement.
And it's been
It's
30 plus years. I mean,
Yeah.
And as far as being able to intentionally sabotage it, yeah, it's a lot easier to do it in its present position, but where you're gonna put the underground piping, you still have areas where the pipe is gonna be exposed outside of it. It's not gonna be totally buried, right? It's not gonna be 100% buried.
Oh, no, it will,
It will be.
yes.
You won't see it at all.
No.
Okay.
The plan is, I believe, the part that is exposed on the bridge currently, they're not planning on removing that anytime soon, but they're going to cap it so that there won't be any gas actively going through it. I'm not sure what the plans are long term. They will probably wait until the bridge needs to be replaced
So
to
they're gonna
remove that.
We're gonna leave it there for the kids to
Like-
play on.
Yeah, for the time being, but it won't have any active gas going through. It'll be capped, but the new installation of the gas line will be entirely underground and all within the footprint of the roadway.
So I think we've addressed questions so far, but it sounds like we will have to continue the hearing for issues like the drilling muds, it's the bentonite polymer surfactants for those safety and health issues
Yes.
and environmental issues to be addressed. Also, what are your plans for an environmental inspector on site? This project's in relation to the Rivers Act?
Yep.
Anything I missed? I think that's it. All right.
I got a quick question though,
Sure.
just for my peace of mind. The pipe now we're replacing because it's old.
And because of its composition of being
And
cast
the
iron.
composition, it didn't even make 30 years. Unfortunately, I wish I had the knowledge Ken had, but 30 years later, we must be able to do a good job at it now. How long do you estimate the new pipe will be in there for?
It's gonna be,
So we don't have to do it again?
PPL, it will last, we'll all be dead and in the ground for 100 years before they ever have to deal with that pipe again.
They couldn't give me an
Okay.
exact number, but they said decades.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's just.
It is a superior material to cast iron.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I just had to replace the major plumbing in one of my houses where it comes down out of the bathroom and saw that cast iron, Christmas tree and everything. And they don't replace it with cast iron anymore. They replace it with either PPE or PPL. And I don't have to worry about that.
I think we're starting to get a little off track is what I didn't want to do. I appreciate all the input, it's very helpful.
Might I suggest that because the information that we need is very specific in order to continue to the next hearing, could we, instead of continuing it to the next hearing, could we close the hearing on the condition that these specific items are, or that this specific information is emailed to the commission?
Close it without a vote?
No.
Or no?
I'd rather not.
Okay,
I'd rather not.
alright.
Thank you. Matt, you have another
Yeah,
segment?
just to follow up, I just looked at the state's cold water fisheries bureau. Snodbrook is actually not a cold water fishery.
Okay.
It's not a map, so.
Okay.
We'll still look into the Rivers Protection Act.
It doesn't support trout well, Matt,
No,
so.
like I said, I have no license.
I appreciate it.
He doesn't even have a hearing tonight, he just came for.
It's a groupie, it's a real thrill.
All right, so,
All
Carolyn, are you all set?
I'm all set. I
Okay.
also have the legal ad fee.
Oh, yes, thanks.
And I can take back those HDD plans.
Oh, these?
Yeah.
Pass it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for your time.
All right, so I
Do you
will,
need these back?
They're not relevant to this project, so I would,
Oh,
I
okay,
think I
yes,
would like
yes,
to have
yeah.
them back.
If they're not relevant, yeah.
Carolyn,
There's
Um,
an example.
are you an engineer?
No, I'm not. I'm a wetland scientist.
We need to, we'll have to vote to continue.
right, I entertain a motion to continue the hearing until, the second, a month from, 4 weeks from now?
Is that the next hearing?
Well, the next one is in 2 weeks, you said you didn't want that one.
Oh no, yes,
Oh, you want that one?
yes,
Oh,
I'd
I'm
be
sorry,
happy as
misunderstood.
soon as we can.
Oh, so now, what's the date of the next hearing? You're on
March 14th.
That's right, the month after Valentine's Day. So I'll entertain a motion then to continue the hearing until, the March 14th.
So made.
Second? Thank you, Ken, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
We'll take the rest of the vote by roll call. Bob Seacard? Mike Seeking, Rich Gullick,
Aye.
and Chuck Raymond.
Aye.
All right, motion is continued until March 14th.
Thank you,
See in
Carolyn.
3 weeks.
Thank you.
very much.
Appreciate it. All right, moving into back up to the top of the agenda. Now, I forgot to read the last one into the record, oh well. You're welcome, Glenn, I appreciate your input, those questions were very good, very well, very thought out. So I'll correct that, and then this one, read the item into the agenda. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for tree removal, construction of a coop, and associated machine work, address 445 North Street, map and parcel 289-1, and there's no DEP file number yet.
Hi,
Sir, introduce yourself.
I'm Phil Smos.
Okay.
I am we are the owners over at 445 North Street.
Okay,
And
have a seat if you'd like.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry, it's my first one of these things. Not really sure how it goes.
No worries, so we'll help you out.
Yeah, thank you. A couple years ago, about 4 years ago, we bought the property over at North Street. We come from the Boston area, Medford, Somerville area. So it's the first time us living in a place with a yard. We're super excited about it. The yard, when we bought the property, the yard was unusable. There was brush, there was poison ivy that she caught many times. There was thorns, everything you can think of. The yard was a mess. The flippers who sold us the house, they did a wonderful job on the building itself, but they looked relatively no work on the yard. I assume because of all the hoops they had to jump through, and they didn't want to deal with it. So I got a hold of, I forget her last name, but I believe her name was Angela.
Yes, Schofield.
Yep, the person before Nick.
Yep.
She came over to the property, she walked the property with me and my wife. She took a couple of pictures. We
Sorry, look at the baby.
yeah. We exchanged a couple of emails. She told me what I could or could not do with the property.
Yep.
And I forwarded all those emails to Nick recently. So after getting approval, some email approval from Angela, I hired a landscaping company and they started on the repairs. Towards the end of the repair, I think they only had a few days to go. One of the city employees that did the culvert over, because my property is halfway on the culvert. The culvert, the stream cuts my yard in half. One of the city employees drove by, they saw that we were doing all this work. They contacted Nick, I contacted Nick myself. They told me it could be an issue. So I talked to Nick and try to see what we could do to, or what we needed to do to make everything legal. You know, we weren't trying to like scheme anybody. We have the emails from Angela that I never even knew that Angela had left office.
Okay.
I thought she was still in her position.
Yeah.
So Nick came out. He looked at the property himself. He told me the things that I was doing. He told me what I was doing that was correct and the things that needed to be fixed. I believe I was fairly good at doing the things that Nick asked me to do. For example, on both sides of the stream, he asked me to put up erosion barriers, and I was able to do that next day. Well, the company did it for me.
So there was still work being done at the property?
They were finishing up. They were about 2 days out.
Okay.
So by the time Nick came over, because there was so much work that needed to be done, they did bring over two heavy machineries, two Bobcats, to move some stuff around. And Angela never told me I couldn't use heavy machinery. I thought everything was okay. She told me you could work. She never said you could work and not use heavy machinery. So I was kind of oblivious to it, I guess you could say it. But by the time I got a hold of Nick, the work was already done. So Nick told me I did have to file a notice of intent. My wife was really good at doing that fairly quickly, and now I'm here.
Okay.
Questions?
That it? You all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, our task here is not to create more problems for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The idea here is to be able to permit the work that you either have done and or still have yet to do, but at the same time protect the water quality and in the stream and any bordering wetland. I'm not sure that any BBW there or not, but so I don't haven't really any questions. Nick, does anybody else have any questions for the applicant? I haven't been to the site, so I can't speak as an expert. Anybody
What
been
is,
there?
Matt, do you know what the stream is that runs behind this property?
Where is it? I'm sorry.
It's a small intermittent there's like a swampy
I was
area
too busy
behind
looking
their
at
yard, and it flows from there
So it's a
to
drain.
under the street. Yeah.
It's flowing water now, it was fairly
I'm-
decent flowing water.
Yeah, I'm sure it's dry as a bone in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. This last summer, especially with the drought, it dried up for like two
Yeah.
or 3 months.
But it's not a named stream.
All right,
It divides the backyard.
there's tons of those in Leominster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
What
that's-
else beyond what's already done were you proposing to do? I mean, the whole backyard, like, it basically is within the jurisdiction, you say? What else beyond what's already
So
done?
when they redid the culvert and they redid all of North Street, they did the sidewalks. We had no sidewalks when we moved in. They redid the pavement over. There was a fence that so from the street to the actual culvert, it's probably good like 10-foot drop. What you would say?
something like that.
So there was a picket fence that was there. The employees took it out. I emailed the city many times about putting it back in. If like a kid was riding a bike or something, there's plenty of kids in the neighborhood, and like they went off the sidewalk if they're learning like a scooter, they would end up in the culvert that's like full of like pretty sharp rocks.
Yeah.
I asked them to put that fence back. They said they won't do it because the existing fence was on city property, not on my property. I asked them like, you don't even have to put a fence on my property. Just put it on the city property, right next to the sidewalk, like they did to the opposite side of the street. They refused to do it. So I would love to put up a fence. You know, he's probably going to be on some wheels fairly soon. So I would love to put, you know, nothing big, probably like 4 foot from the edge of my property all the way down to FNL Road.
Okay.
Okay. Just on the sidewalk to
Yeah.
separate. that
Exactly.
drop off.
Yep. The sidewalk and the cliff.
Nick, when you and I spoke earlier, did you say something about wanting, being a good idea to put some kind of plantings along the edge of the intermittent stream, just to
Right, yeah,
check
so,
water quality?
yeah, the only thing I would recommend, to do additionally here, to maybe remediate, some of the work that was done, because I get, you know, you're cleaning up the yard, you want it to be an active space that you can use and stuff, but there were, you know, some shrubbery and some tree removed,
Yeah.
In the
Yep. There was
process,
some
right?
dead trees that we removed.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, so, I would just recommend, you know, some plantings, maybe, like, a couple along the banks of that stream.
Yeah. No. Sure.
But beyond that, that's the only thing that I would.
Are you thinking
Add
like
to
a rain
this.
garden?
I don't know if a rain garden would be.
I guess thinking more just to capture some of the runoff that would be going into the stream.
That's, rain gardens are designed to do that.
They're more of a depression. This is more just a berm.
Just lining the sides.
Oh,
of it.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
It's a small,
The whole yard is kind of a bowl, you know, like it kind of all just goes down into it.
I'm curious about what the previous agent agreed and would be interested in seeing that material,
Yeah, that would
those
be-
emails
yeah.
prior to
Yeah.
making a decision.
Did that like include the chicken coop?
And why, and was approval given, but then you can't ask so much why, but what approval was given and what wasn't. Apparently there's a history there.
I'm
Right.
also,
Can we get those and
Yeah.
talk another time?
Sure. Yeah. Because this doesn't have, as we mentioned, the file numbers, so we'll have to continue anyway. But yeah, I will get those and sent out to everybody.
Go ahead, Stephanie, you were asking.
yeah, I was just curious if it said on any
$20 a dozen.
of the initial documentation that it was identified as a potential vernal pool
Where? What?
on Mass Mapper.
Is there a potential whirlpool?
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect so, it's flowing right through the air.
Based on the, yeah, because on Mass Mapper, the potential vernal pools are from just, I think, geographic data that a program just like zones
Sure,
in
it
and
meets
says,
criteria.
there's likely a pool here, but
Mhm.
like I said, their yard is like kind of bowl shaped, so that would be what you'd be looking for in a vernal pool, but based on being there, like there's water flowing through there, it's not like
Okay,
there's not like an area where a pool would.
not a concern here.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
One thing I want, that's somebody mentioned coop, I forgot about the coop part of it.
Mhm.
So obviously we had a pretty not high profile, but a contentious project last year dealing with a chicken coop that was basically virtually sitting in the wetland that we made them move. Is this chicken coop up?
It is up, yeah.
Okay, Nick, what are your thoughts on that and its relationship to the wetlands here?
So there was some concern brought up by some of the other commissioners that I've spoken with about, consistency with the ruling that we had on the chicken coop from over the last year and this one. As you said, the last one was like basically within the wetlands, and it had been there for I don't know how many decades before anyone knew anything, and it was because he had filed for a garage to be built and it never was brought up here. Phil here, he had spoken with the previous agent. I do have evidence of that, and he's been very communicative with me.
Yeah.
So I think it's a slightly different situation there.
Okay.
Also, in comparing those two, that other chicken coop was in pretty bad, disrepair. It was just, it was basically like a, chain link fence wrapped around and over, and it was just kind of open on the top and bottom. Phil's got, a roof. It's sitting on an existing concrete pad that was there.
So
right?
on the other side of the stream, there were from what my neighbor's telling me, who's been in the area forever, there used to be a garage there, and the garage was all rotted out. So when the rehab guys redid the house, they took down the garage, but they couldn't take down the concrete slab. So the concrete slab stayed there, and they just covered it with dirt. So I still can't take it out. I would have loved to take it out, but I can't take it out because it holds the banking to the stream. At least that's what Angela had told me. So I left the concrete slab, and I built a chicken coop right on top.
Okay.
It's really heavy, of course, because it's wood, but like it's not fixed to the ground. We just built it right on top.
Is the coop right on top of the water?
Yeah, no, it's on top of the concrete slab,
Yeah,
off
but
to the
how
side.
How close to the water?
Good 15, 20 feet maybe, roughly.
10 feet-ish.
Okay, so the issue with,
It's
the issue
not
with the
far.
chicken
Yeah.
It's up a
coops,
hair, if that makes, I was there for the site visit.
the issue with the chicken coops per se is we're all concerned about the contamination from the chickens being E. coli,
Yeah.
right?
Phosphorus and.
However, yes. However, we have a major portion of Monusnock Brook that runs 11,000 to 12,000 CFUs consistently through the year, and we can't identify that. And I wonder what the actual number would be if we went out to one of these chicken coops and sampled the water and submitted it for E. coli analysis. I would guarantee you it's not gonna be 11, 12,000 CFUs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's comparing eggs to eggs, but, if the concern is contamination in the E. coli, that's certainly that gives you a basis to go by.
This coop sounds like it's sitting on a concrete pad. So
Is
nothing's
there a roof on
gonna
it?
leach.
There is a roof on it.
Okay.
Nothing is gonna leach into.
Can roll off the
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah, it's impermeable, it's not leaching right here, it'll leach around the edges.
What
it's
are
not-
you
not
doing
clean.
with the chicken waste?
So I put shaving down. I change the shavings in the chicken coop once a month. I get it right from Tractor Supply. I take the old shavings that it's supposed to absorb all the moisture and the waste, and I put it in my trash bin
So you're throwing it out once a month.
once a month. Yeah.
How
And I
mu-
put
how much of the
clean
waste ends up on the pad? The pad is not under the building. Well, there's a pad under the building, but then there's an open area of the pad, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So
They're fenced in.
So the stream's running right at the bottom where the rocks are.
I've had the chickens now for about a year.
That's when you built it about a year
Yeah, I
ago?
started building it about a year. I was a little sloppy at first, I guess you could say that. So there is some shaving that fell on that slab, but from now on, from some time now, I've been cleaning the chicken coop in the inside because there's an actual walk-in door. There's a roof. It's not sitting directly on the slab. It's raised about 6 inches. So none of the contaminants from the inside of the coop actually makes it to the slab itself because of the flooring.
But they can poop out on the slab, I assume.
No, it's lifted up.
They're not out there walking.
Oh,
on
you mean
the slab,
you
it's
mean
not
on the run?
covered. Yeah.
Oh, on the yeah. So that's actually there's no slab there. That's soil.
How many
Oh,
chickens?
so there's a free run.
Yeah, for
That's
soil.
Open to rain.
Exactly.
Free run soil right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many chickens?
21.
20 chickens.
You get a dozen eggs a day,
Is that what it takes to get a dozen eggs?
pretty much.
20 chickens, yeah, huh?
Every like 2 or 3 days, a chicken lays an egg or something.
It depends on the chicken, on the breed.
Chicken coop. This is different than the last one because obviously this one is covered for the most part. It's on a concrete slab, and it's not sitting in the wetlands.
But I think it has a more direct access to a wetland than the one that we did before.
Oh, no.
I don't think so.
No, that was right on the street.
Free run
Yeah.
all through.
I would recommend that commissioners who've seen the other go see this one
Yeah.
prior to
Yeah.
making
Yeah, you guys are welcome to.
Yeah, I
We
think
want
that's a
to
good
be
idea.
consistent, yet every case is somewhat different.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So,
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
let's
this,
get a chance to look at them more and see what the emails, if you can get
Oh,
those.
the,
to
Yeah.
us.
the picture obviously can be, somewhat deceiving, but to me, it looks like if Nick is correct, he said it's a bowl. This one looks like the grading is going away from the stream, and the coop is downhill from it, so, no, it's not.
No, it's slightly above it, yeah. That's probably just the
It's
angle.
above it on both sides of the stream.
Yeah.
Rises up. Not much, it's kind of level, going to be lawn, and then down behind it is a pile of shrub that was piled up from what was removed.
Okay.
That I guess will get taken out.
Quick note, so when we started kind of cleaning up the yard, there was an old rabbit coop in the yard from the previous owners, and we took that down ourselves. That was rotted out. There was a lot of old wood that was rotting out because of the water. So we took that out. There was about 7 or 9 rusted lawnmowers in the yard that we ended up pulling out, and those were full of dirt. And then we dug up 23 tires from the yard, and I had to pay to dispose of those as well.
It sounds like you're doing all the right things.
Yeah.
Did you look at this property before you bought it?
I realistically, when we bought the house, I didn't even know how big my yard was. We fell in love with the house. We bought the house, and then it was a can of worms, and I went to go look at the yard. It was too much for us to handle. So
That's what happens when you fall in love.
yeah.
But that's beside the point.
Could I just make one more point?
Yeah.
There was, the first issue that he brought before us was a safety issue, and that's for trying to prevent the kids from getting hurt with the removal of that fence. I think we ought to talk about that and make a decision on if that can be repaired or not, and keep the chicken coop conversations kind of separate.
I don't think we have jurisdiction over the fence installation.
It
Who
goes,
does?
it would be right
The city
back.
of Leominster.
Right, the fence is right by the stream.
It's right by the
Yeah,
stream.
Yeah,
Oh, it is?
yeah,
Yeah.
it would be to prevent people from
I
falling.
mean, if there's,
So on-
yeah, if
so
there's
on-
something where a kid is gonna get hurt.
On the
I
opposite,
don't.
sorry for interrupting. On the other side of the street, there is no residency. It's I don't know what you guys call it. So it's that big.
It's a stormwater collection system.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and they put a chain link and a
Heavy duty black one, it's a nice one.
yeah, it's beautiful, and they put the wooden one too, the small wooden barrier. I think
Yeah.
it's like 4 feet tall. You know, that's essentially what we'd be looking for, just some sort of protection.
When would you be putting that in, if you had your
Well,
choice?
the city is making me jump through hoops again just to get permitted for that because of the footing, because of the wetland. They said that I can't make any foundations because of the water. I can't be putting any concrete. So they're making. I have all the emails. They're making.
When you say the city, what board?
Yeah, who are you?
Yeah,
building
that sounds like us.
I reached out to. Huh? Yeah, so the city told me to contact MassDOT because MassDOT was who actually did the street. I reached out to Mark Pierre
Yeah.
over at the DPW. I think he drove over. He said that's nothing he can help me out with, and it's just been.
It's a standard answer.
Yeah, he should have directed me to you, I think, 'cause as far as the fencing, because if you want to put up a fence on your own private property, I don't know where the line is exactly. Would you be able to do you know where the line is? Would you be able to put it on your
And would it be
property?
He has to
effective to
put it
stop
on
the someone.
But I mean, is it,
Yeah, but my property
Like-
starts, so,
it starts after the culvert?
no, so it starts between the sidewalk and the culvert, but it would start at a point that it's already sloping. So I don't know how much,
So, yeah.
so like where the
If someone
city,
falls down, they're gonna fall.
exactly, the
Yeah.
city property starts right, right next to the sidewalk, and it probably goes like a yard after the sidewalk between, there's a yard between the sidewalk and my property, and that's when it starts to slope over already, so like, I don't wanna put a fence like on the slope.
Did the city tell you that you could not replace the existing fence and put it exactly where it was before? Did they say that to you?
They said that the existing fence that the old owners had left was on city property, and they would not be putting it back up.
It wasn't city.
And so when they actually took it away to work on the culvert because they were bringing in heavy machinery, I don't know if they threw it away or if it was stolen, but it was gone.
When the fence was up before, it wasn't city property, and then you buy it and it becomes city property?
I guess it was on city property.
It was on city.
I guess so, but we had no sidewalk there before, so
Right.
we never knew.
Okay.
Well, I think we probably need to go look at this place.
Yeah.
As far as the fencing, I don't know if that is involved with this, but I'll
Yeah.
ask around and.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, get some information on. In terms, just very quickly, in terms of any plantings along the stream, if you could work with the homeowners on some native species.
Yeah, and I can organize a site visit for everybody if
Yeah.
you all wanna come all at once. It's also the chicken coop and everything is very visible from the road if you.
Yeah, if I can make that, I drive by that fairly often, I
Yeah.
can just stop by and look.
But I'll organize a site visit, and as far as I was gonna also recommend some plantings maybe around the chicken coop
Yeah, that's
to
no problem.
help maybe mitigate some of the issues with nutrients there. So that's again, that's of course it's all up to the purview of the commission, but I'll organize a site visit and we can go out there, and then for now I'd recommend that we just continue the hearing until the next time.
Okay.
So we're able to get out there and look at it.
Anybody else?
I just came up with something,
Please.
just, is the coupon a pad?
Yeah,
It's on a concrete slab, yeah.
It's just to mitigate, a berm,
Yeah.
that protects roll-off. I mean, there is a lot of ammonia with.
Right.
Yes,
no,
yeah,
it's,
absolutely.
Just a berm that catches it, and then you clean up from there, but,
It will
Yeah,
still
don't-
percolate through and toward the stream is where the water's,
Yeah.
the groundwater's flowing toward.
at least it's the first line of defense.
Yeah.
There were things you can do in chicken coops when they're not in the wetland itself.
Yeah, that's you weren't there for it.
You went there,
but-
yeah, I'll save you the long diatribe on that one. Anyway, okay, so if everybody's all set, I will then, entertain a motion to continue the hearing, what, is 2 weeks plenty?
Yeah,
Okay,
March 14th.
continue the hearing to the March 14th.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Rich.
Second.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, thank you. I'll take the rest of the vote by roll call. Sergeant Quinlan,
Aye.
Bob Seacard.
Aye.
Mike Zeke.
Aye.
And Chuck Raymond.
Aye.
Alright, so motion is continued until the next meeting on March 14th.
I have the, things that you asked for.
The ad and the. Yes, yeah, I'll take that.
Thank you, folks, appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the baby's name?
Oliver,
Oliver.
he's selling eggs at $4 a dozen.
And he's an entrepreneur, huh?
He's a young entrepreneur.
Alright. Thank you.
Alright, thank you guys.
Alright,
Thanks for bringing your parents, Oliver. All right.
Alright.
Those are one of the tutor applicants we've had here for a while. All right, good. Well, moving on. All right, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 130, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work in the riverfront area, address 99 Granite Street, map and parcel 542-9, and no DP file number yet.
Are you, your name's Chris?
No, my name's Bill.
Can we call you Chris?
Chris was unable to make it tonight.
Oh, okay.
I jumped in.
I thought that was
His name's
my name.
on the permit.
Yeah. My name's Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering.
Thank you.
Tonight Drew Paul is with us as well, he's the applicant.
Okay.
This project actually received an order of conditions from the commission a while back, and.
What's a while back-ish?
2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we went through the extension process, et cetera, and just couldn't get a buyer.
Okay.
The way it was. So we've gone beyond that now, so we basically have submitted the same exact change back to the commission. This is the same plan, there aren't no changes from what was originally approved. We did rehang the wetland flagging and had Chuck Karen go out and review it to make sure that there were no changes, and there weren't. But the crux of the items are, we had an agreement back then of you know, erosion control barrier, limits of that work on the plans, limits of any grading, et cetera, would be in this area as well. And there was a foundation drain that we added as well for the building itself. That would be a temporary disturbance, okay? And then from there, we were gonna demarcate this area here with the little badges from the commission that we could put around that whole area. The riverfront review was the same riverfront review that we did in the original filing. This was originally a one lot, which was divided. They got a variance to have the house, the lot width requirement met back here. The city's requirement is that if you have 80 feet of frontage, you have to have 80 feet the entire length. And that didn't happen right in this area here because of the fact that this house was already existing. So they reduced that length, and the condition of the variance, the house has to be back here. So it kind of forces us into the riverfront area, as outlined in there. So basically, because of the zoning, we're forced to put the house there, and then from there, we're trying to minimize the amount of work we're doing within the riverfront area for that work. Typical hay bale, straw wattle and silt fence for the project. You know, water sewer connection would be made out to the street, and upon construction, we would have come in for an as-built plan to certify everything at the other end.
So no septic, no well.
No septic, no well, correct. City water and sewer.
If you didn't have to comply with the zoning, where would the house go?
Well, it would go up here, but that's in violation of the variance part, you know. But then at that point, we probably wouldn't be able to really, now you start to work with side setbacks and stuff, it kind of gets to be a narrow footprint to work with.
I went on the site visit, if I was building there, I'd wanna put it back, it's right in front of the school.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right at the driveway.
Yeah.
I would see, so that's where I thought they were putting it back, and then I read the application,
Right.
it's the 80-71 foot business, and
Yeah.
it's gotta be back there.
Exactly. So there's very limited work that we can do on the property. It does meet the criteria of work within a lot that was created prior to the Riverfront Act. So it has all those different elements into it, so we're working on those things here. There was a question about the variance and its validity, but we got a letter from the building commissioner stating that the variance is still valid on the lot. So we have that condition to meet from the variance. We have the erosion control and construction mitigation work that we're doing on the project. And we would ask that an order of conditions pending the PEP file number being issued.
That's right.
PEP file number on this one.
Okay. What was it you were saying about those badges?
I'm not sure if they still have them.
I think we have them in the office. I've never used them. The
Yeah.
little like white things that you can kind of put on a tree, right? Yeah.
Okay. And they say, what do they say?
There's a wetland up there.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like wetland area. Yeah. By order of
To
the Leominster
prevent people
Conservation.
from accidentally doing things and being like, I didn't know.
So
Yeah,
so it's a fully wooded lot, so there'll be plenty of trees left.
Correct.
With these
Yeah,
badges.
this is our limit of clearing right here.
Alright, okay.
Would you mind outlining where the current trees are? Because it kind of goes through the center of the house there, right?
Yeah, this is the current tree line right in here. So that kind of goes through the house right there, and then we would be pulling it back to this area right in here.
So it's already pretty clear. Is why.
We're just getting into the wood line with the construction that we're proposing.
And some of the tree line there is. Are you familiar with you are at the site? Yeah, it's like a lot of younger saplings and stuff too. It's
Yeah.
like it was clear maybe a couple of years ago.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did clear it at one point
Yes.
when you first bought it. Yeah.
Oh, that was about 4 or 5 years ago. That makes sense. It was 2018.
Yeah.
Going there with Nick, yeah, we walked across basically somewhat field for a little ways to
Yeah.
get back to there. There's other houses right up the street that are just as far back
Or closer.
or closer.
That's right.
This is no reason that this house couldn't be there
As well.
with all the other ones there. I would recommend we get out of the way and let them proceed.
Just a quick question, the
Haven't seen it.
erosion control barrier, where is that?
right along the limit there.
So the.
So we would go in, we'd flag the trees to be cut, we'd cut the trees,
Yeah.
not stump, put in the erosion control, and then start the site work.
Okay.
Okay, because otherwise, if you put the erosion control in, then cut the trees, it always gets damaged.
Okay. All right.
The riverfront areas of alteration on the figure and on the notice of intent didn't match. Which one is accurate?
Well, considering Chris put this together and I was away on vacation, I'd have to go back and check that I can get the information for you.
Okay.
I would, my guess is that I don't think they've changed since the plan was done, so I'll just, it might be just. a typo.
Probably the one on the plan.
Right, but I can check and confirm the information.
Yeah.
That was, I'm sorry, that was a 200-foot riverfront line, is that what you're asking?
No. They identify a riverfront area of alteration
Oh,
of
okay.
like, it's,
The
like
square footage.
3,000 square feet on one and 3,500 square feet
Okay.
on another one. Either way, it's under the 5,000, so it's not,
Yeah, it says 2960 here.
Yes. yes, and the NOI says like 3,500.
It might be that the 3,500 includes this grass area that's not wooded, but let me check with Chris on that. That's probably what it is, that the total area that is gonna be occupied by the house and the lot will include this grass area here, or, and that'll be eliminated.
That would
Yeah.
make sense.
So let me just check on that.
Okay, let's verify that, that'd be good.
Yeah, it's 2,900 plus the 6 would be about 3,000.
All right.
What is the foundation drain? So that's temporary disturbance. Does that mean that the foundation drain will only be there temporarily?
No, you basically, the foundation building code requires you to put a drain around the bottom of the foundation so that groundwater doesn't come up. And so basically it's a relief drain that allows water to drain out here. So you go in there, you basically would excavate it, you put the pipe in, you backfill it, and it would just grow over. And
It's a perforated pipe with gravel over it.
Right, so that the pipe would still discharge at that location.
Okay.
But only at times of high groundwater.
Yeah, and all it's discharging is groundwater.
Right.
I got one more.
Okay.
You said on the NOI that if the property owner claimed the ownership to Scholar Street, that would negate their need to build in the wetland, and you didn't have a follow-up there on that being deemed impracticable or infeasible, and I was wondering.
I read that this afternoon or this evening when I was going through everything for tonight's meeting. So there's a whole legal gamut of things you'd have to do to get that done. The way paper streets work, which is what this would be, everybody that has access to the road would have to basically sign off on that. Okay, so you can't just, if you own both sides of it, you can claim ownership in it, but there's still an easement across that. So even though we could claim ownership of half of that, there would still be an easement line here that we couldn't go beyond, so we would still be doing work within the riverfront area. So it basically what it would do is it would change the setback location, not so much the property line location.
And it's a riverfront area delineation, not a wetland, right?
This is both.
This is both.
Yeah.
What we walked was not wetland area.
Right.
No, we were on the
Yeah, there's a wetland line here, and there's also the actual bank of the river, which is the annual high water mark. Okay, and then so what we have here, here's the 100-foot riverfront area, here's the 100-foot buffer zone, and here's the 200-foot riverfront area. But back to your question.
You're well past the 100-foot.
Yes.
Yes.
Just within the.
We're actually outside of the 100-foot buffer zone as well.
Yes.
Correct. So back to your question is that we could claim half ownership to this, okay? It would be a legal thing we'd have to do with everybody else that wherever that paper street was on an original plan from whatever that was created, we have to go through that whole process. But it really wouldn't change the house location significantly. We'd maybe move it over, to here, but it's not gonna change the work we have to do in the property. Yeah.
I just have one question. May I come up? What is this? Oh, stone pile.
Yeah, there's an
That's an
existing
existing
stone pile
stone
out there, yeah.
You still need that?
Yeah. I think
Okay,
so.
oh, it's in the woods anyway, yeah.
You wouldn't know where that came from, would you? that stone pile?
It's been there since I first.
I figure it's ancient history, I don't know if it might be from the construction of the other house.
It's Granite Street.
Ah.
We're built on this.
Right, I see.
You know, I believe, if you
Silly
look back to the
question.
records, I believe that the commission had talked about, the previous commission had talked about us removing that.
Why?
And I thought it was probably do more damage than good.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the
Oh, you-
result of that was
Yeah,
at
it's
the
not
time.
doing
You guys can do what you want with your rocks.
So basically, you take that pile of rocks and move it over there?
I found a pile of rocks, I
For
was excited
scatter
about
around.
it. Yeah.
Alright,
I think that he would be happy if anyone wanted to come and have a rock or two.
maybe I'll come look at it, try to relieve you of your pile of rocks.
This is very generous.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, issues?
No.
Alrighty, so we're gonna continue, so I'll entertain that motion, then, it was 2 weeks, okay?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm busy March 14th too. So I entertain a motion to continue the hearing to March 14th.
So made.
Thank you, Ken.
Second.
Second.
And we
Thank you,
have
Mike.
to continue because of the DEP.
Final number.
Yeah, and there was something else that you were,
I'm gonna check the square footage.
yeah,
The riverfront,
yeah,
yeah, discrepancy.
That wouldn't hold us up.
no,
Ah, but it'll,
no,
No,
it's
it's
just,
like-
$3,500.
Just wanna-
Cross
I'd like
T's,
to be
dot
able to
I's.
address the question.
yeah.
alright, so, Ken made the motion, Mike seconded,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Stephanie Quinlan,
Aye.
Bob Seeker.
Aye.
Richard Gullick,
Aye.
and Chuck Raymond.
Aye.
Alright, so motion is continued until March 14th.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Have a great night.
You too. All right.
That's it.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks for coming in, Jude.
Thank you.
Oh, you're just, taking a bio break, Ken?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, yeah, you
Raise
wanna-
your hand.
Yeah, we'll just take a 2 or 3 minute, break here.
Yeah.
If anybody else needs to use the restroom or anything, please feel free.
Look at this thing we got out here.
We'll have to
You brought
keep
everybody.
moving on real soon.
All right, moving on then. To the item that I accidentally crossed off my agenda. Reading the record pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for a warehouse addition to an existing business and associated site work in the buffer zone. Address 8 Mohawk Drive, map and parcel 232-3A, 232-6, 232-8, 232-9, and 232-10. DEP file number 199-1169. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
So my name is Jonathan Collette. I'm with Haley Ward. With me is Wes Fuss. We're representing TC Realty LLC. Existing properties at 8 Mohawk Drive. Mohawk Drive to the north, Nashua Street to the east. This is the existing building. It's about 40,000 square feet. Existing pavement wraps from Mohawk Drive around to Nashua Street. There's 2 entrances, one on Mohawk Drive, one on Nashua Street. So we're proposing a just over 36,000 square foot addition to be used as a warehouse. Also proposing extending the pavement, which is in purple on the plans.
I'm sorry, what'd you call it? I missed what you said, the purple part.
Oh, it's pavement.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we're gonna extend the pavement down.
Oh, extend the pavement, that's what you said, oh, you missed that, okay,
Yeah, so
sorry.
the existing pavement runs right at the top of the purple, comes down here to access the existing loading docks
Okay.
for the building. So proposed warehouse, we have a proposed stormwater basin in green. All of the water from the roof of the proposed warehouse and the proposed pavement, as well as the southern half of the existing building will make its way to the stormwater basin. In blue is the erosion control barrier proposed. And then we have 3 fingers of wetlands highlighted in orange to the southern edge of the property. And then there is also a retaining wall 20 feet off of the proposed building to the south. And then the 100-foot buffer zone is in yellow on the plan.
Could you please describe those fingers a little further? They were different than what we normally see.
Yeah, so they're pretty well-defined channels. Not a ton of your typical wetland vegetation. I know we did the site walk with a lot of snow, but they were pretty well defined channels.
Some were started pretty deep, 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I drove by that, those are some
Yeah.
chasms in there.
Yeah.
You would see the water just flowing right out of the ground, just seeping right out and starting to give it some flow there.
The purple area,
There are
are you
three
going to
deep trenches.
increase the impervious area?
Yeah, so this is all proposed, this is
That's
all
that- that's the
additional.
whole
Yeah, it's gonna
purple
be like
area.
Yeah, that's all pavement.
6,500 square feet of new
6,500?
impervious area with the parking lot and the buildings.
Yeah, so I think it's around 30,000 square feet of pavement and then 36,000 square feet of building.
Rooftop. What's the blue line again?
Proposed erosion control.
Erosion control.
Are you gonna have to import fill material for the building?
Yes, yeah, the site drops off quite a bit.
So it's gonna be a decent amount of fill material.
Yeah.
Let's see, what can I forget to ask her?
There, from what you told us, the company is kind of packed, squeezed in tight, and so they need to expand some, hoping to do it in the same spot.
So it's gonna be a
Otherwise, they've outgrown the building,
Exactly.
basically, right?
The stormwater detention basin,
Yep.
is that connected to groundwater, or is there a liner in there?
There's no line.
Is it, it's an open bottom?
Yes. there's no
Oh, okay,
line.
that's how I was getting at, open bottom.
Yeah, so the material, actually, the parent material out there is fairly good material. So we did some soil testing out there.
Till,
It wasn't all gravelly, but it was pretty sandy.
Okay.
There's some fill above it, so we'll have to remove the fill.
okay, so it'll drain pretty well.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that, are we worried about putting an infiltration structure that close to the wetlands? Like, I know we've run into that issue before where having them right next to each other isn't effective because it doesn't have adequate space for the infiltration to happen.
Not for the soil types that are out there.
Okay.
And so there is some fill material that was, I don't know if it was left when they did the warehouse or when they did the improvements to,
Nashua Street.
Nashua Street. When they brought in, 190, they moved, Nashua Street. And it looks like there was some fill material that was moved onto the property. So that fill material, there's about 2 to 3 feet of it, needs to be removed to construct the basin.
Okay,
But once we get to the parent material, it was all good material, it was all sandy material.
okay.
And so it shouldn't be an issue. So the basin should empty, as long as they remove all the fill. And so I believe there was a note on one of the detailed sheets with regards to making sure that fill material is removed in the area of the basin.
Not a lot of clay in that area?
Not in this area, no. And so the soil maps were pretty consistent with what we found out there for the parent material. Like I said, there was some unnatural material on top there that either came from where they did the street improvements or the building.
Didn't you just say unnatural?
Unnatural.
The water flowed pretty good through the soil.
Yeah.
Where you could see it come out, the trenches were so deep.
But and there is a significant elevation difference there.
So you implied that this is the same owner, they're gonna be using this second building for the same purpose?
Yep.
Is it, commercial?
Industrial. So,
It's a compounding company,
Okay.
pharmaceutical compounding.
Plastics?
You got plastic
Oh,
specialty.
oh, it's plastic. Oh, I'm sorry.
Plastic specialty company.
What was that thing
Who's the
compounding?
owner of the company?
What
Wait,
else?
think
Plastic
different-
compound.
Peak
different building.
It's
Performance,
compounding.
and then Aaron Industries.
Aaron,
Yeah.
where's Aaron?
It's the Peak Performance Compounding.
Peak's right
Inc.
here, and then
It
Aaron,
is
I think Aaron owns
compounded.
the building,
Thank
and
you.
they're.
I assumed it was pharmaceutical.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's where their headquarters
They
are.
think they And they own, what, 2 of the buildings to the west too, right?
Yeah,
The 2
yeah.
properties to the west.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't see any problem with this myself when I was out there on the
Yeah.
site visit. I would support this going through.
You never see any problems.
I do see problems. Oh, ask Wes. We should put that on TV.
I'm assuming that with the company, with their manufacturing, that we don't have any concerns with, like improper disposal or like degreasers or anything being used on the site, that now that it's expanding into this wetland buffer, it is like technically a higher risk, but if they have good housekeeping and management practices, it's
The only thing they have out there now are the trail trucks.
And
And that's all they're gonna have after.
I think we're getting out of our area jurisdiction anyway with that.
There are no chemicals stored
No, kind of.
outdoors that we sell.
Not really.
Yeah, there's
I mean,
not
that's
that.
a good
Both of
point.
those properties, the Aaron property,
Good
and this
concern,
property was
valid concern.
inspected within the last 10 years, both by OSHA and DEP.
So this new area is simply warehousing.
Yep.
There is not any manufacturing actually taking place in that.
No, they need storage.
Yeah.
Just storage.
Yep.
And that organization's been around a while, and, you know, I've been back in there quite a few times, and, you know, their housekeeping is good. There's not a lot of junk like you see in a lot of buildings. They keep it
Yeah.
nice.
No, I drive by the
Clean and groomed. and-
I think that's the best thing, right? It's right there on the main street, so.
Yeah,
Everybody's
very
Yeah.
visible. Yeah.
All that eyes on 'em.
Yeah.
I just have one more question, so with this basin, is there gonna be any regular maintenance that is required for upkeep? And who would be responsible for that?
Yes, so that's who's,
So whoever the landowner is responsible for it. And so John did include, there's a stormwater report that John included with the submission to the commission. In that is the maintenance responsibilities
Okay.
and the schedule.
And the only thing I'd throw in there is it looks like they're pushing the snow storage area into the wetland, the 100-foot buffer, but the building's in the 100-foot buffer. So I imagine the basin can mitigate the runoff there, whatever they're gonna push in, salt or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so there's nothing, and actually it's gonna be improvement for what's there now, because there's nothing there now. It just free drains out toward the wetlands now, so. Yeah, so
It's
the
dirt.
complete southern half of that site right now drains out to the wetlands with no treatment, so.
Are the basins designed for filtration?
There, yes, we are required to have some infiltrate, yeah, so we did provide infiltration calculations that were.
Filtration, not infiltration. So like, if there is, there's gonna be there are a lot more pavements, there's gonna be a lot more salt.
Yep.
And
So the four
other
bays
material.
yeah, so the reason we have a 4-bay, where John's pointing there, that's where all the water comes in first, and so that's all where the salt deposits will happen. Most of the time, there will be a little bit that will get into the main part of it. And so as part of the maintenance, schedule, the 4 bays that are being looked at, more heavily, and then, if there's any deposits in there, that's supposed to be cleaned out. So, yeah, there is, as part of our maintenance schedule, that is part of the design of the basins. Cool.
And any dissolved salt will pass through.
But, and then, yeah, that's where we get into the TSS removal and all that stuff.
It's only so
Yeah.
much.
Then it'll get filtered by the soil, so to speak.
You say, Stephanie?
I think so.
Okay. Anybody else? Great. Go ahead and, I'll open up to the public, and then anybody choose to, anybody have any questions on the project? Doesn't look like it, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this. Nicholas, what do you have for a recommendation for?
So yeah, based on the site visit I had out with Rich and the NOI submitted, it seems pretty standard, for this area in terms of like what's there and what's already there, what's allowed. I know that, detention basin is a button pretty close up against the wetlands line there, but as we said, it's not your typical sort of thing where it's like a swampy sort of area with water sitting there. It's moving out of there pretty quick. So based on all that, I would recommend that we go ahead and approve it, short of waiting for additional information, but it didn't really sound like there's too much.
Okay.
Can I
Or
ask a
wait,
question before we do?
Please.
Go back to that. How'd those form like that? The fingers?
The ravines.
You know? Yeah, cause they're more ravines. It's not so that it's wetland plants so
I'm
much.
guessing
It's
there's probably more from construction over the years,
drainage
is my
ditch.
guess.
My guess
That's
is,
what it was.
my guess is they were shallower at one point, and then when all this got developed, they just kind of got filled in, and then kind of left there. The two
We're not filled in.
The two left fingers don't see as much water. I know the right finger sees immediate drainage because there's drainage that dumps into it. From,
Yeah, I saw drainage and all.
yeah, it dumps into
Flowing water.
The other two see a little bit of, we saw a little bit of water, but not to the extent of the lower, the
Yeah, I
east
think
one.
runoff from the highway comes into that.
Correct, the runoff from the highway comes into
And
the east
that's
one.
Will you be touching any of those in this work?
No,
Doesn't look like it.
Okay.
no, we're looking at some of the drainage above it, but not that drainage there.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay, that's all right. Were there any special conditions that we wanted to, I didn't hear any mention, I just wanna make sure I didn't miss any. Okay, all right, so based on Nick's recommendation then, I'll entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent for, was the address again? 8 Mohawk Drive.
So made.
Thank you, Ken. Second, or is there a second? Rich,
Second.
thank you.
And Rich second. I'll take the rest.
Stephanie's third again.
Well, you're the second. I'll call on you first. What was your vote, Stephanie?
Aye.
Aye. Alright,
I should wait.
Bob Seacard?
Aye.
Aye. Mike Seiki?
Aye.
And Chuck Raymond?
Aye.
And with that, motion passes, 6-0, and the order is approved.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm crossing you off my agenda.
Yeah.
Take it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
See you, man.
You too.
Yourselves as well. That's you. All right. So now we'll get Low Street's next now, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right, next, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for a request for determination about applicability, or RDA, for the installation of a water connection to an existing house in the buffer zone. Address 61 Lower Street, map and parcel 488-2. I got one. I'm all set.
It took me so long to get this far.
I'll take it. Stick that.
Well,
Thank you.
Is the pictures in there too?
Yep, like these.
Sorry, guys, I thought that was theirs.
Oh. Don't worry about it. No worries. All right, so, introduce yourself, please.
My name is Anthony Cleves, I'm with Salem Ward.
You did.
I'm here on behalf of the City of Leominster Community Development Department. Proposed project is for a water line replacement to an existing home at 61 Low Street. So that first page there is just the Leominster GIS, give you a sense of where the project is. It's adjacent to Woodside Ave. If you're familiar with Low Street, up Low Street, Woodside Ave is the first right on Low Street. It's just before that, on the right. The second pages there are some pictures of the site. So, existing residential home, their current water connection actually is fed through the house to the left of theirs, as you can see on the plan. So, the homes were originally same family, and as you see over the years, they both had wells, and then as water came up, one house got it, and they said, oh, I need water next door, okay, we'll just run the connection from one house to another, which is not the preferred way nowadays. And so, the house that this water service feeds this one is being sold.
Oh, the neighboring house is being sold? Okay.
Yeah, so very soon, they're gonna be without water, that'll get disconnected. So, they're in need of a new water service. So you can see some of the, so where it's gonna go is, you can see on the plan in blue, I highlighted the proposed water service, in orange, the dashed line is erosion control. Essentially temporary construction disturbance. You're gonna dig a trench, go 5 feet deep, put the water service in, and backfill it.
Yep.
All minimal disturbance. It's in an area that's already lawn, you can see from the pictures. Stockpile to the side and put it right back in, pretty straightforward.
Be the same thing if I lost my water feed from the street to my house right now.
Exactly, yeah.
And somebody had to come up, dig up the front of the road,
Yep.
portion of the road, my front lawn, throw the pipe in, cover it,
Yep.
Done deal.
and then go away.
So there are wetlands on the right-hand side of the plan on the east. We're about 35 feet away with erosion control. Again, it's all already residentially disturbed, it's a lawn,
Mhm.
there's a shed there and whatnot, so it's not much to it.
Are they connected to the sewer too? I saw the abandoned.
Yeah, so back in 2006, they tied into the sewer. through their neighbor's property, which was their family's property, and tie it to Woodside Ave. There is no sewer in Low Street, the sewer is actually in Woodside.
So there is a sewer connection?
Yep, it exists, yep, so it's out, it comes out, there's a pump chamber here and the sewer
Oh,
goes out there.
Oh, got it.
So I've shown where,
They had septic.
yes,
We feel.
Alright. Alright, oh yeah, these folks need their water.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Nicholas, I would ask you what your recommendation is.
So
No,
I
no,
would
the
recommend that we would find either a -2 determination, which states that the activity is in the buffer zone and would fall under our jurisdiction, but it's not going to affect the wetlands, or a -3, which is the same thing, but we have the option of attaching conditions to that if anyone feels the need to do so, but I don't.
Yeah, I think we should go with 2, I don't.
Yeah, no, I'll make a motion to approve a -2 determination on this.
You can't make the motion.
No, I'm sorry, I'll entertain a motion, sorry. If I said make, I was mistaken, sorry about that, thank
Stephanie
you,
is
Ken.
making the
I'll
motion.
entertain a motion then for a -2 determination. You said, okay. Second,
Second,
Okay,
Ken?
Jim?
I'll take the rest of the vote by roll call. Bob Seacard.
Aye.
Mike Seekey.
Aye.
Richard Gully.
Aye.
And Chuck Raymond.
Aye.
Alright, with that, we find a -2 determination, and you're free to go about your business, so.
and then so you'll take a week or so to,
Like within a week or so, yeah. I'll just gotta get everyone's signature and I'll get it over to you.
that's great. Thank you very much, appreciate it, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, this is such a quick one, you saved it for the end.
Right?
You don't have our DEP number?
It's an
It's
RDA,
RDA,
so it's
of course.
I asked the same question like 10 minutes ago.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
You're learning. Stop talking, I'm not listening. All right, moving on. New business, vernal pool hike on Sunday, March 19th at 10 a.m. at Lincoln Woods.
He's given over
Fun
the
stuff.
continued.
Continued here.
Well, yeah,
Oh.
I mean, I know
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
late, but.
Yeah.
I'd already crossed it off, sorry, I'm sorry.
You're crossed out.
Yeah, head happy over there.
Having a tough night, my gosh. All right, so continuing hearings, do I need, they're not here, we're gonna continue anyway, I need to read it into the record, right?
I would go
Only if
ahead.
there's any
Might
comments.
just, okay.
I would just, yeah.
All right, under continuing hearings, then, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the removal of an in-ground pool. Address 11 Wildflower Road, map and parcel 563-34, with no DEP file number yet.
Right, so yeah, we opened this last time, still don't have a DEP file number, that's the only thing we're really waiting on, and see if they have any comments, so I would just recommend that we continue to the next.
To the next hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll entertain yes, Rich.
I'd like to speak on this one.
Please.
Well, just for the record, I believe it was open 2 meetings ago, not last meeting.
I believe you are right.
And so this is now the 3rd time it's come up, that we have not been able to let these people do their in-ground pool removal because of DEP number. I am losing my patience with that. However, given the weather and the current date of February 28th, I'm not too worried about moving it along quick.
Well, I mean,
But
even if they
eventually-
had our approval, they couldn't start until they
We
had
can't
the,
issue the order until we get the file number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we're not
But
holding them up.
it's still holding up our process of helping our citizens get things done.
As I recall, we had no objections, there were no issues with this, yeah, so
None.
would you folks, in this particular case, would you folks be amenable to approving this and what was the terminology, contingent upon a DEP file number?
I would, but again, we don't need to, given the weather. I mean, if they wanna make a reservation for somebody, nobody's gonna go out in the next 2 weeks and do this.
No, but
Alright.
shouldn't we, I mean, I don't, isn't it our standard of practice to wait until that point to see if DEP has any comments?
Yes.
That's
I
been
think
questioned.
we
I
all
would
agree
say.
except for you.
I mean, we,
To wait for
okay.
comments.
you have to remember,
That's okay.
you seem to wanna push things along, which is fine.
I'd like to get them approved.
Yeah,
if
But
they're
you have
pretty happy.
to remember that our central mission is, we are in fact a regulatory board,
Understood.
and we have to go according to the rules and regulations, and we are answerable to DEP, to the state, not so much to the city of Leominster, but to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
We represent the state in making these decisions. The idea that we need to wait for them simultaneously bothers me because I don't find that consistent.
Bothers me
After we
too.
wait and wait and wait and wait. I
Bothers
mean,
me
we had
too.
some long ago, we just gave up on them, if I recall. So I'm not sure that's a set precedent
Yeah.
that we have waited on them, because at least when I first got on. So
I mean, we've
so
discussed this
for now,
before.
for now, I will stay out of this one because of where we are in February.
All right, so then I'll just, as I said, entertain a motion to continue this to March 14th.
So made.
Thank you. Second?
Second,
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. I'll take the rest of the vote by roll call. Bob Secord?
Aye.
Mike well, I don't know if we could, because you weren't, so.
Yeah.
You would be recused technically because you weren't here, so you'd have to be here for
Right, you weren't here for
the entirety of the hearing.
Yeah.
Or watch the video and sign that you've attest that you've,
Yeah,
done
we
that.
got one, we've done no need.
No, I don't.
Right, so-
Swimming pool, I don't mind to be shut down. It's okay.
Well, I'm just, well, we'll just skip over you for the record anyway.
Right.
Mike Seiki?
Aye.
Second motion, Rich Gullick
Aye.
and Chuck Ring?
Aye.
Alright. So motion continued or hearing continued until March 14th.
So I am now officially done with the front page of this agenda, right? I can actually go.
Yes.
All right.
We're all gonna turn it over at the same time.
I need assistance, okay. All right, moving on,
If I might suggest something, just because I know Matt is here waiting on this, I might just suggest that we move his item
Okay.
from enforcement up until
Okay.
now. Just
Well, then right.
get him out.
Well, he said he has no life.
Learn something sitting here.
But, we'll, since Matt is the only one here, we'll go ahead and do the enforcement for 1771 Lock Drive replication next.
Right, thank you. Matt Morrow, environmental consultant and Old Italian curmudgeon, representing the issue for Lock Drive for our summer development, James and Sarah's.
Yeah.
So, as the commission will recall, we last left it off that the current tenant of the larger building had to remove the equipment from the back, put up the Jersey barriers, and in conversing with Nick from the original plan that I put in, Nick and I talked about, he asked me to examine like the value of putting some trees around the area. So I did that, and the plan is actually behind here, and I believe there's a couple copies that I gave to Nick. There's a few copies if you guys want to share it and look at it, great. So essentially what we're proposing to do, the Jersey barriers, by the way, have been put up.
Good.
Stuff's been removed. And I had Nick sent pictures. I think it was like the next day
Yeah.
after the last meeting I was at.
Right, it was like that evening, you sent it to me,
Right.
the next evening.
So essentially what we have is, this is the small building here. This is the area in between the buildings where vehicles are currently entering. That is gonna cease. These actual shrubbery was actually part of the planning board approval.
Okay.
This area right here is actually original, so this area is gonna have to be graded down. The spot shots will be shown on the grade to ensure that they were part of the compensatory storage, because it was in floodplain, so we'll make sure the elevation is okay.
So there'll be no more truck travel through there at all?
No, in fact, I know the current tenant had mentioned to Nick and myself, oh, I'd like to put a door in here eventually and, use that area. And, I looked over at the record and conferred with the property owner, and it's like, no, the planning board approval specifically prohibited that, so that's not even possible. So
Okay.
we're gonna make sure this is stabilized, graded properly, put the shrubs back up. There were shrubs in this area and some over here that they didn't look too great, so I'm gonna wait to see how they come up in the spring. I think the drought probably impacted them, and if they need to be replaced, any existing shrubbery will be replaced. In the back area where the commission wanted the replanting, this is the area in question. This is the part of the riverfront that goes behind the tree line. This is the area in the back behind the Jersey barrier. So the area basically marked with hash marks would be planted with a meadow mix that I commonly use in uplands and riverfront areas. The particular mix is a New England wetland plant compound. I've only seen two companies that sell that, them and Ernst Seed over in Pennsylvania. The nice part about this particular mix is what it does is it has components that will generate during all parts of the growing season. Early spring, later spring, summer, more drought tolerant plants and then plants that tend to bloom later in the fall. They will actually wind up, some of them are cultivars, so it'll wind up encouraging pollinators. Now, in looking at the value of the trees, there were several advantages I saw to Nick's request, and I can understand why he asked me that now. So, and basically, adding the trees in here to the riverfront, and you don't have to put a lot of them, but the basic components of that advantage is, one, when as these trees, the hollow circles are pine trees. And as you know, the pines will grow tall, they'll grow out, they'll provide a nice shade. Nice thing about the pine roots in an upland area where it's dry or drier, their root systems will provide some stabilization, some water filtering. They'll help out with flood control. They'll help out with shading for cooling any runoff going into the remainder of the land, going over into the Nashua River. Aesthetically, we've got flowering dogwood trees that we're gonna plant here, only like 3 or 4 of them. That will go with the pollinators because I found that with the white and the pink flowering dogwood, which if this commission looks back in its records, I actually recommended on a wetland line planting on a restoration over on Lisa Drive. That was part of a DEP enforcement action. This was about 10 years ago now. The nice part about the flowering dogwoods, they'll go in with the pollinators, and it actually, because they keep their flowers like till the, July, they'll help with the pollinator situation. They'll also provide shade, provide habitat. The trees will provide wildlife habitat. Having the tall pines come up because the Nashua River is probably a feeding way and a migration way for like hawks, bald eagles. Trees will make nice, they'll promote nesting areas for those types of birds, and, squirrels and other types of wildlife that go there. So putting in the trees adds a nice dimension than just throwing a meadow in and hoping you grow pretty flowers. So when I examined that, I'm like, okay, I can see why you were asking me now. So I think that's a wonderful addition to it. And essentially, the work would start in the spring. And I would monitor the work through the spring and then check on it. I think I had on my schedule like monthly or every couple of months after the planting's established, and I would monitor it for a 2-year period. And I can provide reports to Nick as often as he feels he needs them.
What's the name of the mix again?
It's in my narrative. It's a New England wetland meadow mix. Do you have my narrative right there?
Yes. New England wetland plants.
Yeah.
Conservation seed mix. This looks like a good plan. My only concern, and it's not a concern with the plan itself, my concern is with the potential contaminants in the existing soil. With all that truck traffic out there, my guess is there's probably some oil and some other things that are not conducive to plant growth. Am I overstating the problem, or
Find out.
I don't think there's gonna be anything that's gonna really stress any of the plants out.
Find out when you plant them.
Yeah, right.
There's gonna be some loom that's gonna be put up here as
Okay,
well.
all right.
So he's gonna have to top dress it
Yeah.
with about 6 inches of loom, which would help with that.
Yeah.
And any drips from any of that hydraulic equipment, with the area being left alone, the bacteria will eventually take care of that.
No, good point.
at the end of the
Good point.
drips.
That's fairly, that area drains fairly well anyway, so I think any contamination from the previous.
So the oil's in the river now.
It's already in the Nashua.
Actually, I seem to remember years ago when I actually was working with the city of Leominster, this area was a constant thorn to the commission side because there were junk cars always parked.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It still was some of the other lots farther up the Lock Drive
At the
down
very
the
end,
Lock.
yeah. And at the other end, which I've
Yeah.
talked about a million times, but
And honestly, I don't envy you of that situation, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I'm working with planning and building
At
right
some
now.
point-
We're looking into that.
at some point, I really think we need to address that as a commission.
I agree.
I mean, we made this guy, put in blocks and break up the stones and everything, and at the other end, you have like, it's like a disposal site.
Right.
Get back in front of you guys.
All right, I think that was like a good plan. Anybody have any questions or concerns with that?
Absolutely
right?
Yeah, it's right there,
Question?
right, Nashua's right there.
Right.
Are you taking out the Jersey barriers? Am I missing that? At some point?
No, we're gonna leave the Jersey barriers in there while it's growing.
Yeah, well, just take them out.
I don't wanna go through planting all these trees, and then have somebody just run in there and run over.
Yeah, right.
No,
Have the trucks come in and run over the plants and the trees and say, oh, that's.
but they're still gonna come out at some point, or no? You're gonna leave them there permanently?
We can re-examine, we probably
As
should
opposed to-
re-examine that after,
As
let a
opposed
year
to,
or so go by.
Yeah,
as opposed to using trees and shrubs as the barrier, instead of the Jersey.
In that area, I'd rather not use the tree, it'll just wind up growing, and over the years, it'll just wander again.
Yeah.
It's one thing about vegetative barriers, if it's along, like a subdivision where you're planting a lawn and it's gonna be manicured, and you do an abrupt, like arborvitae barrier, that's one thing. In an area like this, you do the barriers, it's just gonna grow wild and it'll just blend in.
Okay, no
You
problem.
guys
They're
driving big dented trucks probably won't be the best
No,
route.
we wouldn't stop. We had talked about whether.
Alrighty. I think that's a good plan. Nothing you need from us at this point, is there? You know, that was just kind of an informational thing?
As long as you guys approve of it, we're doing this under enforcement, so
Right.
I will inform my client that as soon as this weather breaks, we're gonna have to get cracking.
Yeah, no, that plan looks fine to me.
Yeah, I love
Looks
it.
good.
Love the
Very good.
trees.
Appreciate it, Matt.
No, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in.
No problem, thanks for
Hopefully we
having
won't
me.
have another nasty drought
Here
this
we
summer,
go.
we can actually get some growth out of them.
Yeah, really.
Alright, moving on then, we'll go back then to the vernal pool hike not this Sunday, but Sunday, March 19th at 10 o'clock at Lincoln Woods.
Yeah, so it's set to begin at 9:30, so that's a
9:30.
typo, but it is, yeah, they'll be doing a vernal pool hike. If you haven't been to Lincoln Woods, it's like right in the center of Leominster, south of downtown, and they have 3 or 4 separate vernal pools down there, a nice vernal pool loop. It's like a mile total, so it's a real easy walk and cool habitat down there. I walked down there 2 weeks ago to check it out, and I saw my first fairy shrimp there. So the pools down there are totally teeming with fairy shrimp. So we'll see how the amphibians are with it once they start coming out, when it starts warming up. Should be right around that time, so maybe we'll see some cool like salamander eggs and things down there. But
Wood frogs.
yeah, so we're gonna get into all kinds of fun critters and vernal pool fun down there on
Good
March
stuff.
19th. So
Definitely.
mark your calendars and come on down. That'll be on a Sunday, so
Yeah, so.
maybe a little easier to come down.
Cool.
Nice, I'll be there.
Since you're on the subject of the hike, do you wanna tell about your last?
The previous one, yeah, I was gonna say, so on that topic, I didn't put it in the agenda, but we did have the winter wetland plant hike at Prospect Park that was February 23rd. As you might recall, the weather was a little nasty that day, so I was kind of wondering how it was gonna end up. And it turns out that Keith from Leominster TV came down. I knew he was gonna come down, and we ended up filming a little short video down there. So they're gonna cut something together they're working on now, and they're gonna upload it to the Leominster YouTube channel. So you can have like a little virtual hike down there, even if you missed the in-person. Which you're not the only one. There was a lot of people that signed up that didn't end up coming out for the hike, but we did have Channel 5 come out, and they saw my poster somewhere and just showed up. So I had a little thing with Sarah Kanji, and that aired that evening on Channel 5, yeah.
Let's work that out.
So we got some exposure. I do have the video, if anyone wants, I can send
That
it
was
to you.
at Prospect Park.
Yeah, that was at Prospect Park, so. So I figured that was great exposure. I figure at least,
great.
a handful of people that it's relevant to in the area must have seen it. So people that weren't aware are aware now that we're doing these hikes, and hopefully see some more people.
Thank you, Nick, for doing that.
Can you get us on Good Morning America after that too?
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, at this rate, maybe at the vernal pool hike, we might have 3 camera crews show up.
I would think with the vernal pool hike, you'd probably get a lot of the science teachers that would wanna bring their classes, but
Yeah.
it's a
That's a
Sunday.
good idea. I'm gonna reach out to, I'll reach out to some people at the
There was
schools.
a lot of snow right before the last hike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was icy.
Covered everything.
Yeah.
My daughter does that. I think she does it in Bolton.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I've been to it a couple times.
Nice.
Alright,
It's really worth it.
all set?
So that's it, yeah.
That's good, well, good luck with that. I'm gonna try to make it to that. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I wanna see the fairy shrimp.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, they're cool.
Alright, right, moving on, nothing under old business, certificate of compliance, 546 Prospect Street, DP file number 199-650.
All right, so this is another case where the house is changing hands, and they were going through the old permits and saw that this order never received a certificate of compliance, so that's why they're coming before us now. The house has sort of a complicated history. It looks like the original builder had started building it, or doing some activity related to the construction that filled some wetlands in the area. Whoever was the agent at the time reached out to them and issued enforcement orders. They did end up filing a notice of intent and applying for an order. The commission at the time, this was back in like the 90s also, the commission at the time, or maybe even as late as 2001, but not any more recent than that, but the commission at the time actually denied the original order, I think because of some of the funny business that was going on before where they were working unpermitted. Or I'm not sure what the reasons for the denial were, but they did deny it, and the applicant appealed. They ended up getting a superseding order from DEP, so that's how they that's how they ended up with the file number that they have now and the order that they were permitted under to build the house. So I took a walk around out there. Based on the plans that I had in the old file, it looks like everything was done in the limit of the plans there. There was a rectangular area that was marked for wetland replication to make up for some of the filling that was done before. There was wetlands type plants in that area. So again, I don't know how it looked previously. It seems like that might have been wetlands already. That might have played into why the order was denied, but you know, basically it's in compliance with what was on the site plans for the order that was eventually issued. And the owners now are several owners removed from all of this anyway, so I would recommend that we issue a certificate of compliance and just kind of get it off of their plate.
So I'm curious, you just said they're several times removed, so this not being filed with the Registry of Deeds didn't hold up any sale of the property?
Apparently not, huh?
It seems like that happens fairly regularly. I don't know why, if it doesn't prevent anyone from selling the house or why it's such a big issue. I know you're supposed to file it with the registry, but you know, this
I was
is
just
never
curious.
was. Yeah, right. No, I know. I think that's been the case for at least some of these really old certificates that we go through. Like some people it is the original owner and they just ended up forgetting. But some people it is, just like passes hands and then no one knows why, and yet nothing ever happened with it. But so
Interesting. All right, thank you, Nick. I'll then entertain a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 546 Prospect Street.
So made.
Thank you, Ken.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Michael.
all right, Bob Seacard, how do you vote? Yes. Okay, I'll take that as an aye. And
You only get one vote, that's it.
Steph Wendland,
Aye.
Richard Gullick,
Aye.
and Chuck Rankin.
Aye.
All right. So certificate of compliance approved.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Nothing under extension permits, nothing under communications. Meeting minutes, seeking a new clerk. Nicholas, please describe.
So I spoke with the city clerk, and so the city clerk is Caitlin Huffman. Her husband Michael was the one that doing the minutes as the part-time clerk for the commission. Due to some personal issues, he's no longer able to commit to that responsibility. So I spoke with her, and Caitlin Huffman, the clerk, and she informs me that as the agent, I'm able to take that on and just get paid for my extra time outside of work hours to do the minutes. I did wanna open it up to anyone, if anyone on the commission is interested, you do get a small stipend for your time, but short of anyone being particularly interested in it, I mean, I would be fine with taking that on and catching us up here, so.
He said he'd catch up. I had volunteered Mike and myself to help catch up. Actually, just me, Mike, not you. But I volunteered to help him catch up some, but he doesn't need us to. He can do it and make a little extra money and get his car
That's
on.
fine.
And I've encouraged him to make the minutes, to chair's approval, relatively short
Yeah.
compared to some of
No,
what
no,
I've seen.
you certainly have my approval on that one. Nick was describing this to me earlier today, and I said, I have no problem with it, but if it gets to be too much, please let us know.
Right. Okay.
Cause otherwise we don't need another bottleneck because you're too busy with so many things, so.
No, yeah, and I don't wanna
so,
get in that position either.
Yeah.
I've been told that other department heads, that are in charge of organizing meetings and keeping, meeting minutes, that there's several other people that do this, where they're just doing their own minutes.
Yeah, no, I think with your knowledge of the process and the
Yeah.
hearings themselves, I think it'll go a lot more smoothly.
Yeah, it makes the most
Yeah.
sense.
Should be
A
somebody who's
lot,
here.
lot more accurate,
Should be somebody who's here and then one
Right.
or more of us can
right,
check.
right. Yeah.
faster and more accurate.
Nick, if I may, I'd recommend you start with tonight's minutes first
Yes.
and then move back.
Sequentially done.
Not try to catch up from
That's
behind.
a good
No,
idea,
I
like that.
I agree.
Because it won't, it'll be a long time till we catch up.
It's fresh up, fresh.
And these are fresh,
Right.
yeah, first chance to
Yep.
knock this one off.
I agree.
Thanks.
Good, all right, well, good luck,
Thank you.
and what are you gonna do with your windfall in huge?
I don't know.
If you do need help, Nick, I volunteer, Rich, to help.
That's
He is
good.
very good with minutes, as I've heard, so.
Alrighty. Alright, moving it down to enforcement again, so we did 1771 Lock Drive, so 45 Stagecoach Road.
Right, so, I spoke with Chuck earlier, I mentioned that is a typo, it's supposed to be 43
yeah.
Stagecoach, but that was on the agenda that I posted, so that's how it is. But we're talking about 43 Stagecoach Road, I spoke with the landowner, Eric, who, I don't know if he purchased it last year, but I spoke with him starting the previous summer, because he had planned on building a house there, or demolishing an existing house and building one or two other houses on that same plot. But there was a wetland area in the back, as he could see, and he just wanted to ask some questions about it, so I, roughly told him where the limits are, where he can do work without talking to us and where he can't. But driving by, that was the last that I really had communicated to him with it, was back in like September. More recently, maybe about 2 weeks ago, I had driven by and he'd started putting in the foundation for the house, so there's a lot of more activity out there, but it appears from the road that he has done some soil grading and machine work extending into the buffer zone. So I sent him an email saying as much, either, I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, but he got back to me, he said we're gonna meet out there on Thursday and have a walk around, so I'll explain to him anything that he shouldn't be doing and what he has to stop, if anything, and so we'll just keep an eye out for 43 Stagecoach Road having a notice of intent in the next couple weeks.
That's fine, would a cease and desist be appropriate?
I'm waiting to have a walk around with them and see exactly what's going
Okay.
on, but I'm assuming that's what I'm gonna end up.
Okay,
I'll send him an email at least,
Yeah. leave it up to your judgment, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. Good, well, good luck with that, thank you.
Mhm.
Next one, 429 Mechanic Street.
Yes.
This is before, right?
Yeah, so they had, they're the ones that had the bridge, going over the stream behind the culvert that was backing up and all this flooding.
And the cover was cleaned out.
Yeah, so since, well, I mentioned the last time the culvert had been cleaned out, they had removed the bridge. There was an old riding mower sitting on the bank next to the bridge that had clearly belonged to somebody maintaining that property before. So I'd asked them to take that out when they had taken the bridge out. I've been there since they took the bridge out, the lawnmower's still there. So I've reached out to them again, it was just today, but I haven't heard anything back, but I told them to please go back and remove the lawnmower, cause it's just gonna fall into the stream, so.
So is that
Do
the
they have to
enforcement
cross the
aspect of
stream to
it?
get it out of there?
Yes, yeah, because I had asked them to remove both, and they've since removed the bridge, I don't know if the workers were misinformed, or if they were just
Okay,
trying to get away with not dealing with it, but the lawnmower's still out there, so I'm just gonna ask them to take that out.
Okay, all right.
But all the construction debris from the bridge is all gone, all cleaned up nice?
All right, so it's just the lawnmower, that's the lingering issue?
Yeah, that's the only thing.
All right,
Just they didn't completely do everything I asked them to do, so I'm just
Okay.
gonna ask them to finish it up.
okay,
Worth it.
Yeah.
all right, perfect. Anything else, anybody? Questions? No, okay. All right, moving on, nothing under emergency certifications, nothing under budget. Wetland ordinance, open discussion on ordinance planning, that's just a standing agenda item, right?
Yeah, it's
Is
just
that
a
nothing
standing
new?
thing, I don't have anything new, if anyone has, anything that they've come across or wanted to add to it, but
I honestly, I think every time I drive to work, I think about, the bylaw, I'm like, I'm trying to catch myself up. What kind of contact has you or anybody else on the commission made with the MACC about that for assistance, anything? Have you reached out to them?
So I reached out to them, I could forward that email.
All right,
This is from like maybe 2 months ago or a little bit a while, when we had, closer to when we had started talking about this more. But they sent me I'm pretty sure I forwarded this to everybody, but
You
we
did
do.
the Excel spreadsheet with the.
Yes, but the
list
existing
of-
bylaws and like the general like skeleton of a bylaw
I missed that.
that they
Can you
sent
send
out.
it to me again? I missed that.
I'll resend it.
All right, thank you.
But that's the only contact that I'd had
Okay,
with them. But they have a complete list of all the municipalities in Massachusetts, if they do have a bylaw and what's included in it, if they do have one. And then, like I said, they have like a skeleton bylaw that you can just like, includes everything with the Wetland Protection Act, and then you can like plug in extra stuff on there, so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, one of the really helpful things with the when I was on the commission in Falmouth, I don't know about in Lancaster, but in Falmouth, their bylaw, when we went to a site visit, they had to have the property lines staked out, they had the center lines of roads staked out, tops of coastal banks staked out. It was so helpful, instead of just wandering blindly around a site. I'd love to have us do something like that, so, in addition to other things, but just a similar thing in Lancaster, yeah,
Yes, and it helps
Yeah.
immensely.
it really does.
That's in the Falmouth,
The Falmouth bylaw, yeah.
and in Lancaster? They have
Yes.
something like that? Okay.
I recall, Mr. Chair, that Nick was going to kind of lead this effort
Mhm.
and go through there and bring us some kind of draft proposal that some others
Yep.
were going to take a look at.
Yeah, we talked about looking at similar sized cities and like cities sort of around us, you know, like using those two different things to guide it a little bit.
Can you get your hands on the Lancaster bylaw?
I will see if I can get in touch with
It's on the website.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I'm gonna look at the Falmouth website and see if I can get it there too, so. I'm not saying they're similar sized cities or anything, but there's still some things that might be helpful and useful for us to at least consider.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything else, anybody else wanna talk about?
What exactly is the process? You still have to go through legal.
Yeah, right.
Because this is,
It's a long, complicated process.
It's
I
not
mean,
easy.
It really
It's
is.
gonna be super fun.
Does it
Yeah.
have to go to town meeting?
I believe the city council has to.
City council, okay.
It's a city ordinance.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Do we all go as a team?
That'd be fun.
yeah,
No,
Yeah.
but we can, we'll just send you.
Just me? Oh no. I mean, I will, but you know, that's a choice you're making.
As
You're gonna go with
much as
consequences.
as much as it seems we want the ordinance, we'll see how much it's needed when we get an answer on the appeal of the wildflower case,
Yes.
which is what
It's
sparked
need-
this
it's
on.
needed.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
needed.
It really is.
But to me, it's not as needed if that gets denied, if that gets, and our vote is overturned.
And-
Because it shows we did have some authority already, so I'm not
Right,
saying
but-
it's not needed, that
But we
doesn't
may,
say that.
that may come up again in the future, and this is our lesson.
I'm not,
Yeah.
We
I'm
must
not
learn
saying
from
not
this debacle, because, I'm not so sure the DEP's gonna turn that down.
No, I'm not sure that either, I'm just,
Yeah.
to me, it just, well.
Because of the fact that we don't have the ordinance.
And if I may, I know it's not on the agenda strictly, but for an update on the wildflower situation, there's, nothing has changed, but I asked about it, and the holdup specifically is because some of the information requested has to do with, like test pits, and they can't do those test pits right now. That's not unheard of,
Yeah, she had the crazies about the test pits.
Yeah.
She really did.
So it's not unheard of to be waiting on requests for information like this for
Yeah.
like up to a year or so.
Yep.
So I wasn't aware of that, and maybe some people on the commission might need to readjust their expectations. I know I did, but they said that's not so unheard of that they might be waiting on that for a year. And I was wondering if they have a time limit, like a specified time that beyond which they're gonna say like, we're not even gonna take this anymore, but it's basically just kind of in limbo. If they don't have a time limit, so they can,
DEP?
Yeah.
they don't have a time limit on waiting for requested information.
DEP does what they want, you know.
They do what they want.
Yeah.
Now, the Wetlands Protection Act does give 21-day deadline, supposedly we're supposed to try to
Right.
meet with these
Yeah.
requests, which is why I push for us to approve things, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no,
But it
there's,
doesn't get met.
so there's no limit, but it doesn't really matter because it just means that nothing is gonna change. Like they don't have an order, so they
Right,
can't do
correct.
anything with it
Yeah,
anyway.
Correct.
So it's just kind of, I guess our denial stands until otherwise.
I would imagine that the applicant is waiting,
Yeah.
so they can do both properties, both houses at the same time and not have to start one and come back a few months later and do the other one,
Oh,
Well, they
well,
can't do it.
they've got everything out there
have they?
now, because it's gonna be 3 in a row.
Oh,
I
that's
think
right.
they're just, their plan is just like 1 a year.
Yeah, you're going into the building season now, they're gonna be.
Okay.
They're knocked off the ones.
Charge you what I
You know, the
Okay.
sad thing, just while we're still talking about this, is, and love developers, hate developers, the fact of the matter is, somebody spent a lot of money on a number of pieces of property that were zoned to be built on.
Mhm.
And they paid, not for 3 lots, they paid for 4 lots.
Mhm.
And I know we all have, you know, our purview is the Wetlands Protection Act, but there's gotta be a more forward-thinking process in the building process that doesn't allow someone to spend all that money to buy what they think is a buildable lot and then
Yeah.
not be able to,
It
Get a
comes down
return on
to planning and zoning, approving all these, little
Exactly.
jigsaw cut pieces.
exactly.
And then
I
it
mean,
gets kicked down the line and the rest of us have to look at it, like,
Yeah.
what is this?
And we have to be the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's just not fair.
What are you saying, you
And-
don't wanna be the bad guy?
Huh?
Let somebody else be the bad guy?
No,
so we should all
I don't wanna
go
be a
and start
bad guy. I
heckling
mean,
planning
I-
and zoning.
Doesn't work that way. I don't think it works that way in any city or town across the
That
country.
doesn't mean it can't.
Right, but good luck. I mean, you know.
No, I hear you.
All right, well, I don't think we're gonna solve
Ideally,
it then with this tonight. All right, moving on, anything under commissioner news, that's just a standing agenda item,
Yeah, just if anyone else had anything.
yes,
Yeah, I asked at the last meeting about the reflective vests for us, and I was on a sidewalk,
And a
walking
bulletproof
on a
under
very busy
Yeah.
road.
I would like,
And placards
Yeah,
for the cars,
Yeah.
which would be really simple, just an 8x11 city logo, Conservation Commissioner,
laminated and be done.
laminated, 8.5x11. Please try to bring those to the next meeting.
I will have the placards ready at the next meeting. I will be ordering Jim and Bob's name tags that everyone else has, so I don't know if they'll be in by the next meeting, but those will be ordered. And same with the reflective vests, I would just request everyone's sizing at the end of the meeting here, if you wanna let me know.
Very good.
Maybe an extra size, a bit
Hopefully
over
those
winter
can get the
coats.
logo on there in some way.
Looking at the mail members, I'd say get a bunch of large.
Some might be bigger.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just whatever, so, yeah,
Yeah.
just come up and I'll just have you write down whatever.
Yeah.
Right, we don't have to put our sizes on TV.
No.
Okay, we'll wait till after the meeting.
That's why we can be discreet.
Good, appreciate you bringing that up, Bert, that was a good one. All right,
Thank you.
so
Thank you,
the next item is just stating the next meeting on March 14th, 2023. The filing deadline was last Friday, February 24th at noon. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Thank you, Ken. Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Bob Seifert? Mike Seeke?
Aye.
Rich Gullick?
Aye.
And Chuck Raymond?
Aye.